Yes, guys, how is it going? I have a treat for you today. So, what you're about to see in the video coming up is ripped straight from a call with my clients this morning. So, this morning I jumped on my bi weekly mastermind twice weekly mastermind with my clients, and I shared all about how to build your business on strong, solid principles. This is the answer to when coaches are constantly feeling overwhelmed, constantly worried that things are going to kind of break down, constantly not knowing the answers to things, or constantly not knowing, where their next client's going to come from, or what the next thing is that they need to do to be able to grow their business. Usually, if you feel that way, it is a sign that your business is not built on solid principles. Your business may be built on short-term tactics, which a lot of people teach, or maybe on strategies, but they are not on top of sound principles. So in the video that you're about to see, you're going to see me talking about how to think in business, how to build a business on solid foundations. So you're not anxious, you're not running around like a headless chicken, you know what you need to do. And then I'm going to share with you 6 of my guiding principles that help me make decisions, that help me choose my strategies and choose my tactics that layer on top of those principles. You can take my principles and run with them if they work with you, or you can just watch these principles and allow them to help you find principles that you want to follow. So the video is coming up. Me and Tom had a one-on-one call yesterday, but was it yesterday? No, it was on Tuesday. But it was less of a, well, he's local, so he just came to my building and we just sat down, and we got stuck into his business, stuck into, how we're going to grow this thing. And afterwards, one of the things he said was, one of the most useful things from the entire session we did together was less about the exact things that now need to change, although that's helpful too. It was more about like watching how I think about this stuff, and learning how to think better within business. And that's always the highest ROI thing. Like, I can say go and do this, and that's useful for now. But learning, and this is why I take a long time to answer people on these calls, and I actually coach and I actually talk about, do this if you think this, do this if you think this, and stuff, because learning how to think answers all of the questions downstream forever, and it's something that can continually get better. Yeah, you can build out a funnel and you can run that and it's going to work for a while, but when you learn to think, and you're constantly thinking, how do I think about this, or how do other people think about this, or you're seeing someone do really well and you're wondering, like, how are they thinking about this different to me? It's the highest ROI thing that we can actually develop. So then yesterday I was thinking, well, how do we think? And it comes back to something that I've shared before, which is principles, right? So let me share the old iPad, and I want to talk through this with you guys. So 1 second. Assume you guys can see this. Drop it in the chat if you can't. I'm just going to assume you can. So here's the thing, right? Like I said, when we can think about thinking better, when we can learn to think better, when we can actually look through that lens, everything else gets better. And so many of the smaller questions are answered, and so many of the smaller decisions are guided through how do I think better, or how can I think better, or how to think better. Now, here's the thing. Most people, most coaches out there, even most like business coaching programs and stuff, they focus just on one thing, which is tactics, right? And tactics can be quite sexy in the moment because they are an instant thing that you can do now, and sometimes they give you an instant reward, right? So most people are teaching tactics because they're quick, they're sexy, they don't take much thinking. And most people are thinking in tactics when they are thinking about their business. You know, tactics are things like hooks, like do this hook or follow this trend, or here's how to set up your Instagram profile. It's all these things that, yes, they can actually help for now, but they don't help forever. There's something that helps, or it might be, do this little thing to get more views on your story. They can be useful to have in the arsenal. They can be useful to have in the toolbox and understand, but they're not really going to build the business that you want, right? Understanding them in the moment is still not a bad thing, and you'll pick little things up here and there from people, little tactics. But the thing with tactics is they change so frequently, right? If it is a hook or a trend or a way to get your story, all of these things, they are based not on deeper things. They're not based on things that take a very, very long time to change. They're based on mechanistic pieces of like the platform you're on or things like this, which are constantly changing. So many people will build a business pretty much just on here's what everyone else is doing. Now here's all so just do that. And then here's all the tactics to kind of like do right now. And they're anxious because these tactics can work for now. Almost always the tactics stop working as much over time. And then eventually, and it doesn't take very long with tactics, things can start to shift, things can start to change. And then that tactic literally just doesn't work anymore. And if you're only built on tactics, then you don't know what to do next because you've only built this on knowing what worked as a tactical piece right now. So you're not so sure where to go from there. The next step down, which we should be thinking about more than tactics, is strategy, right? So strategy is the longer term pieces. This is stuff like understanding how to make offers, right? Which is, within that, there are going to be tactics that help. There are going to be tactics that help right now. Maybe a tactic of just use one I just used before. Maybe a tactic of like how to get more story views may help the strategy of making offers and stuff. But the main thing that helps and helps for a long time is, for example, understanding how to make offers, making micro offers, understanding how to upsell, the strategy of, running ads or whatever else, these longer term strategies that you can put in place and you can work on. And it works over time, no matter where it's placed, no matter where, what platform it's on or anything else, these strategies are going to work. When we start here, things are a lot more long term. Things are a lot more grounded because they're not constantly changing. You don't have to constantly keep chasing new shiny things, new shiny tactics, because the strategies are going to have a longer, time before it changes. But the problem with strategies, not only do they change eventually, not only will they stop working eventually, and again, sometimes without the strategies, it's harder to move to the next piece. Sometimes when it's only there, it's harder to move to the next piece and know what's different. The problem with strategies is there's so many. There are so many strategies. And when we are asking ourselves, what strategy should I do? Because there are so many and so many of them work. And you will be able to, talk to 100 coaches and they're all going to be doing very different strategies. And you will see success in every single strategy if they're done right and, if they're built on the right foundations. That's where the overwhelm and anxiety can come from. It's should I actually be doing this strategy or that strategy? Is this strategy the one for me? This person's winning with this. And what you'll find, yes, these things can last a longer time, but when it's only built on strategy and then the tactics above that, the problem is people are often jumping from strategy to strategy because, again, it is not grounded in deeper things that we have been able to decide on to then decide the strategy, to then decide the tactics that are going to help us right now. So the grounded piece of all of this, the thing that we want to build our business on is not necessarily strategy. It's definitely not tactics. It's principles. And more importantly, it's your principles. It's the principles that you have chosen to operate on to do everything else, right?
When your business is able to be built upon principles that you believe in, that you have decided upon, that you have kind of decided upon way before, this is the principles that I want to operate around, everything else gets easier because now the strategies that you are selecting and choosing, not only are they so much easier to actually select and choose, you're not going to be all over the place because you're only going to choose the ones that are aligned with your principles. And then the tactics become useful little icings on the cake that can help the strategy work, but it's all grounded on deeper things that are not changing so much. So you don't have to be married to the tactics because you understand that the tactics are going to change. They're going to change very, very fast. And they can just help for now while we're doing the thing. But you know that everything's based on deeper things. And if you're wondering where do the principles come from, they come from they come from your own philosophies. So when you understand your philosophies, what you're coming to this with, why you're doing this, all of those pieces, you can start to come up with your own principles, which keep you grounded, which keep you calm. Because answers are decided from the philosophies and the principles. Answers are decided way in advance. The philosophies and principles may change over a very long time horizon, but they're not going to be constantly flipping and changing all of the time. And they will change kind of at a gradual rate, which is okay. And again, all of these below inform what is above. So you can be calm, you can be grounded, you can be relaxed doing this stuff. And so many answers are already decided for you, and the strategy can be more impactful and done with more conviction, and the tactics can be selected based on what needs to happen. So this is the way that I like to think about this, and this is the way that I would like you to think about it too. So yesterday, as I was thinking about this, I was asking, well, like currently, and I looked at none of the other things that I've looked at before, none of the other things, sorry, that I've created before, none of the other things that I had already written down around this. And I sat quietly and I asked myself, what are the philosophies slash principles right now that I am operating on and that I will continue to operate on from this moment forwards? And I wrote six. So I wanted to share them with you because number one, this piece is very important already. Number two, you might want to take these principles on yourself. Well, number three, even if you don't want to take these principles on yourself, you might take these principles um, to give you the raw ingredients to create your own. So you are grounded, you are calm, and you are able to come from that place instead of like flying about near the top of the pyramid trying to figure out what is next. Also, as well on like a marketing standpoint as well, understanding the principles for your offer. Like we all create our way. We have the Align Creator way. We have your way. Your way is going to be based on principles before anything else. So understanding your principles, which is kind of like who you are or what you are being versus the strategy, which is what you are doing, allows you to create a much more robust, stronger foundation, a much more robust way that people can be bought into, and people can kind of see how you operate, how they will potentially operate if they join your world. And again, it can just be another thing that sets you apart and allows you to be clear in the market and magnetic. So let's look at them. I've got six principles. I don't know how I'll share these. Maybe it'll be quick. Maybe it'll be a little bit, some will be a little bit longer. And I'll talk about kind of like what does that do for me, right? Like how does that inform other decisions? So number one is the obvious one when we're thinking about the aligned creator and building an aligned business. And it's starting with the question of what is the business that I want? What is the business and what is the life that I actually want to build for myself? Understanding that if we come from that place on a long enough time horizon, we will be in a better position because we've been able to be more consistent. We've been able to protect our energy and we've actually just been able to build ourselves the thing that we want. And we've probably all been there before where we've had some success, but we've built something that we don't really want. The two big pieces of this is going to be delivery and operations. right? We want to be consciously thinking as we're looking at all of these other strategies, well, cool, that strategy will probably work, but is it the operation that I actually want? Because I'm going to be the one doing this stuff. Is that the thing that I want to be part of my daily and weekly experience or not? And then again in delivery, starting from what you want to deliver and how you want to deliver, we need to think, is this actually useful for clients as well? But really starting from that place, because again, when we start from this principle, so many decisions are already decided. So many things are already kind of like said no to from this and from being clear on this principle. And everything else is easy, right? Because the thing that holds so many of us back is there's just so many decisions that we think we need to make. And we're getting overwhelmed with all these decisions that we feel like we're being faced with. But when we start with the principles, everything else is easier. So, number one is build the business you want, which requires you to get clear on the business and the life that you want. And of course, that starts to really dictate the strategies that you decide to do and how you decide to do them. Number two, my principle. Let your business feel like art, like a full expression of self. I think this is the cheat code to standing out in the market because no one can actually beat you at being you. As soon as you give yourself the freedom and the autonomy and actually feel safe to, first of all, ask yourself, like, what do I believe about this, about life, about the niche that I'm in? And you allow yourself to express that, which requires actually exploring that first of all. You are doing this thing that you're helping people with in a unique way on its own. Before any mechanisms, before anything else that come from this question, you're doing it in a unique way already. And when we can just feel safe enough and okay enough to actually express that in our marketing, express that in the things that we're creating, express that in our ideas, you're naturally a market of one because now no one can do this like you do it. And when we're expressing that enough, we're able to put that out into the marketplace. And that's where people choose you, not just another coach. So, number two, let your business feel like art. This is something that's essential for me because I don't have fun otherwise. And if I'm not having fun, I don't like it as much. I need this to all feel like art to me. I need to feel like I'm enjoying the process of creating the things that I'm creating. And I work from a much better place from that point. Number three, sell ideas, not yourself. So we spoke about this at the event. We spoke about the difference between contractor, coach, and creator. If we just look at coach and creator, coach will often sell their time, their energy, whereas the creator creates ideas and sell those. There is going to be an aspect always of selling your time and selling your energy within that. There's going to be an aspect of using your time and energy to create these ideas. But when we can really start to think about what are the ideas that I want to bring to the world, what's the art that I want to bring to the world, we can start to actually have unique ideas that we can sell. So this is three-step process. Be excited by your ideas, which is connected to the last one of feeling like this is art and self-expression. Be excited by your ideas. Enjoy the creation of new ideas that can actually help your market more than anything else that's out there right now for that specific person that you are going for. Turn those ideas into useful assets, things that get the result without you needing to be there or without you needing to be there too much, and then get these assets working with you for you, sorry. Get them doing the work for you. Get them being able to be sold without taking your time and energy. Get them into an evergreen ecosystem that's selling them at all times. But when we think like this, now we start to think about what are the ideas that I want to sell. Number four, connected to the last one, be a thought leader. See yourself as an artist and a thought leader instead of just another coach. Most people are struggling because they just fit in way too much. And a lot of this is on a deeper level, feeling safe enough to explore your beliefs, your philosophies, and being able to bring them to the world. But as soon as we can start to shift our thought and our thought process around who we are and think of ourselves as a thought leader, everything starts to change. And the quote that I love around this is, don't let the market happen to you, happen to the market. Right? Like a really good example of like thought leadership is James Clear, Atomic Habits. No one asked for Atomic Habits, right? But this is just one tiny, tiny example, and it's one idea that has been able, like everyone knows the idea more than the author itself. No one asked for Atomic Habits. No one asked for that. He created the idea from his experiences, everything that he'd learned from experts and everything else. He put it into the marketplace, and he happened to the market, right? This is how I love to think, and this is the principle that I like to work on, and maybe it's one of yours too. 5, attract clients, don't chase. So this is very, very, very useful now when we start to look at the strategies and the tactics of which strategies do I actually want to focus on and which strategies do I want to implement and optimize, because I don't really want to be chasing clients. I don't, or sales. I don't really want to be forcing the wrong people into the program. I want to attract my people again by putting out my art, my ideas, my thought leadership, by feeling like all of this is a full expression of myself and allowing people to come in. So for me, this looks like demonstrating your art, putting out ideas, putting them out in, and then this goes to the strategies of micro offers. Micro offer is a perfect way. I don't want to go and send a million DMs, but what I do love to do is create my art, create an idea, put it into an asset, sell it as a micro offer, and allow that to attract people, allow them to experience some of my art, some of what I've created, and then decide if they want to join or not. Right. So you can see how this starts to decide on the principles, the strategies and the tactics as we go up. Demonstrate your art, put out your ideas, and let that attract your people. And finally, the mirror principle. I really, really believe this. It sounds woo-woo, but the more that I lean into it, the more that it seems truer and truer, and the more evidence I feel like I see from this, not only from myself, but clients as well. The ones that, and I know this might seem like a vicious cycle and a chicken and the egg situation, but the ones that seem constantly in a negative state internally seem to create, negative results. And in reality transurfing, which talks about the mirror principle, it talks about how crazy would you be to be frowning, looking at a mirror, and waiting for the mirror to smile before you do, right? And that's kind of what we do in life a lot of the time, right? We're waiting for the external world to smile at us or to give us something good before we feel good internally. But I now believe, and you don't have to believe this, but it's something that I believe, that our internal world often gets reflected in the external world, whether that is from a scientific standpoint of the reticular activating system just seeing more positive, so it becomes a vicious cycle, and you being more positive, more confident, more moving with more conviction, brings more things just on a physical level, or maybe if it's some metaphysical, universal magic thing, which I seem to believe that it is. The world is a mirror. And we can't wait for the external world to tell us we are the person that we need to be before we are that person, because then it will never happen. Even if we think of this on a purely physical thought process. If we know, let's say you're going to 20K months, you want to hit 20K months. If you take the vision of you at 20K months and you feel into it and you look at what you're doing in your mind's eye and you think about how you are acting and how you are responding to things that come in, if that's any different to how you act now, why would you be there now? We need to be the person for the world to see us as that person and to take us there. It's not going to happen the other way around. If we're acting like the 5K a month coach, and we think that our traits and our behaviors and the way that we present ourselves to the world will change once we're at 20K, we'll never be there. But if we can take that vision, we can think about how does the 20K or more, whatever you're shooting for, how does the 20K version of myself act, operate, think, behave, respond we can get clear on that and we can think, and we can understand, I need to be that person now for the world to see me as that person and for me to be able to get there. I think that's where a lot of the real work is and a lot of the real unlocks are. So there's some of my principles, my guiding principles that allow me to think about my own strategies, tactics, and everything else. The biggest thing there is understanding where all of this stuff lies and what the importance of this actually is. So, anyone got any questions on that or any shares before we move on?